Today, Kilroy goes off the shelf. Literally, I'm talking about shelves and how we store our war games. Now, my first war games were Avalon Hill, and Avalon Hill came up with the distinctive style of the bookcase game. And so, a lot of my games that I started out with, I stored them as a bookcase because it says it's a bookcase. You've got to store them that way, right? Well, that becomes a little cumbersome because your stuff gravitates towards the bottom of the box and makes it messy and falls all apart unless you use bags. And it's really hard to use counter trays unless they lock. So that becomes an issue. But I tend to store at my Avalon Hill games just out of habit as bookcase. And the rest of my games, I kind of tend to store flat. So you have the bookcase versus the flat. And that's not an issue that is unique to war games, as Euro games also have some of the same issues, and I tend to try to store them flat. So that's one aspect, is do you store them upright or flat? And that is partially dependent upon, do you use counter trays, or do you bag, or do you use some other type of storage trays that sometimes you get the Plano boxes or other type of trays that you can use. Another thing is, what shelves do you use? I tend to like these calyx shells or calyx shells from IKEA because they fit the games pretty nicely. As you said, if you store them with upright, you don't get as many as if you store them flat, and then you can push a few upright onto the side there. So, but I tend to find these as a nice storage mechanism because they can fit quite a few games in there. So what's the next aspect? So first you have, do you store upright or flat? Do you bag or do you tray? And then the third aspect is, how do you put your games on the shelf? I tend to kind of go chronological by kind of publisher. I start off with my Avalon Hill games and do those chronological by kind of topic, just out of habit. And then I try to fill in spaces as I go. So I kind of have my Avalon Hill bookcase, and then some victory games, which are kind of related to Avalon Hill bookcase. And then go into my ancients and get into somewhat of an ancient vibe or timeline there. Then I kind of go into my Columbia games, and there are some victory point games, which are kind of just, I don't know, because they have the sleeve, they feel like Columbia games. I kind of go similar there. Then I kind of just go into my Phalanx or Mayfair. They're kind of a combination there of games. But then I just kind of start working my way by topic. There's my Civil War, and here is Men of Iron and medieval era. Here is Napoleonic, which has grown dramatically over the last few months. It's up to a little over 2 shelves, almost three cubes, I should say. There's Revolutionary War, various different wars there, but also trying to group some of the Compass games, the No Peace Without Spain series. I have my American Indian or Native American topic there. Academy Games. As you see, I mean, there's somewhat of a method to the madness, but it's a lot of madness. But, you kind of have to go with what you have space for. It's really a matter of the size of your collection, the space you have, and how you want to kind of fit it together. So, your mileage may vary. You might want to store it differently. I kind of do a combination of by publisher. So like there's MMP and topic where I can. There's my coin games. But it kind of varies because at some point you need to kind of fill in the holes in your collection. So how do you guys store your games? Do you upright, flat? Do you bag, tray? Do you go chronological, or by publisher, or by topic, or some combination thereof like I do? Love to hear your thoughts. Bye-bye.